Hello, so I'll be streaming for about an hour, and the Chinese Geiger counter came today. It's actually fairly good. It was bigger than I was thinking, but it's not bad at all. Now, I can get you the box, actually, because it's right behind me here. And according to this, it's called the BR6B. However, as so many different companies sell these and whatever, I think it's probably, that might not necessarily be the name of it. I think that just might be whatever this company has decided to put on the box. But these are turning up on eBay and Amazon now for about the £50 mark as brand new things, and they're very good for that actually, and it's very sensitive. So evening everybody, or afternoon, depends what sort of time zone you're in, I guess, or morning if you're in some places. But this is surprisingly good for what it is, although it does max out at 99.99 microsieverts, which isn't particularly high, but you know, for what it is, it's good. The only thing, judging by this, is they could probably have made the case a lot smaller, because I don't know if you can see that there, but most of the wiring and everything doesn't take up that much room. You can see the Geiger tube there, that's the black tube. So in theory, this could have been made a lot smaller, but it's definitely not bad for what it is. As I just said, literally about £50. Like I think this one was £48, but they're brand new now. So if you wanted a Geiger counter, which is fairly accurate for low-level readings, this is very good. And something else about this, which is really cool, they actually make the retro Geiger counter noise, because the reason being that it seems like it has a proper piezoelectric speaker in it. So what I might do in a moment is, if I've got a small enough screwdriver, I actually probably don't on my desk, annoyingly. I was going to open it up and we can have a look at the inside, but yeah, I can't do that on this video now because I think I'm going to need to get my jeweler's screwdrivers out and they're not stored in this room. But I'll do that in a video at some point. I used to smoke. I quit smoking like 2 or 3 years ago now. I vape now and again, but that's it. So in a minute, I'll get some samples out so you can see it. Don't forget to like the stream if you're watching, because that seems to help YouTube share it. And just to remind people, if you want to buy the merch, it's below. That helps me out. And if you want to support financially, you can do it via Patreon or not Patreon, sorry. Well, Patreon, yes, but it's either Super Chat, which is in that bit where the chat window is, if it's the same side where I'm pointing that it shows up for you. And if you wanted to do it via Patreon, there's a Patreon link below. I'd have no idea, Yonan, what the price of a Moss in the Gant should be deactivated. No, a Geiger counter measures radiation. It is not a Ghostbusters thing at all. They were invented like in the very early 1900s, I think. And what they do is they detect ionizing radiation, as in harmful radiation. Well, the thing is that there's no point cannibalizing it because it's perfectly functional. If I want high-end ones, I've got those, and you can buy, you know, build your own Geiger counter kits for a lot less money. So at some point I might do that. The thing is, I think the Geiger counter tube in here will easily go up over 99.99. It's just the display on this doesn't let it go above that. So yeah, in theory, I suppose if I attached it to like a relevant ampere, you might be able to get the right readings from it. It's just the display on this, annoyingly, could do with an extra 0 on each side. I mean, I'd just go for the Finnish Mosin for 375. I wouldn't spend like 5 or 6 times the price just to get one with a scope on it. Even Richard? Right, so let's get some samples out and measure this. So I said it's very good and very accurate. And what I like about it as well is with the back case, notice it's got the grills around most of it. So basically, you can get beta readings quite easily. You don't have a really small little bit you have to put it onto. It takes 2 AA batteries. You can use rechargeables or non-rechargeables, or you can power it via a USB on the side there, like the same as a phone uses. USB-C or whatever it's called. The only thing I'll say of this is it says it doesn't charge the batteries. So you don't have to worry if you've got non-rechargeable batteries in it. But the point is that, you know, you can power it via USB, but it won't charge your batteries. It just uses that circuit instead of the batteries one. I wouldn't bother using this one. No, I'd probably use my SOX. But anyway, let me get some samples out and I'll show you I've filmed a 22-minute video on this that goes live in December because I'm like a month ahead. But let's have a look at some radioactive samples using it. So first, let's just look at 60 of my thorium lamp mantles in the bag. So here we go. Just turn it on its side to see if it reads more or less if it's put that way against the tube. So I should hold it like that, shouldn't I, really? Hang on. That would be the best way of getting a reading. Put it along the edge like that. So the top one is the real-time data, and the bottom one is hourly average, and I think that only updates like every 6 or 10 minutes or something. So most of the time you'll be doing the top one, and it's in microsieverts. So you can see now it's sort of stabilizing on sort of a 30.30 range, which is pretty accurate. This radiation's coming off of thorium lamp mantles. They used to put them in lights, in like Coleman gas lantern type things, because when the thorium burns, it burns like magnesium. But obviously, we now know that's probably not a good idea to burn those, but they're cool for what they are. I'll just read Rich's comment, and then we'll look at some more radioactive things. That sounds good, Richard. Do a video on that, I guess, when you've got that all set up. Right, now, let's have a look at a bit of Fiestaware. So, if you know what Fiestaware is, where they used to paint uranium glaze on pottery, because why not? That's a good idea, eating and drinking out the stuff with uranium paint on it. So, let's put this near the Geiger. I think this will be a fair bit hotter than the lamp mantle, actually. When you say the word hot with radiation, it means radioactivity levels. That's all right, Mike. I'm glad you can see some of it. The thing I really like with this Geiger counter, it makes the retro Geiger counter noise, because they've obviously got a piezoelectric speaker in it. So if I put that next to this microphone, hopefully you can hear that. But yeah, see, that's a lot hotter because this has got to 11 on the sort of reading. 11, 12, 13. Right, so that's the Fiestaware. And what I had arrive in the post today, which is really cool, it's got a bit of duct tape around it. I'll rip that off a second. Is some urinal zinc acetate, or not urinal? That sounds like it's a thing you piss in. Uranite zinc acetate, is it? It's basically uranium, like powdery stuff. Sadly, I can't. If I could literally buy like 10 grams of it or something, I'd do that. But you can buy a tiny amount from a seller on eBay that somehow managed to get some of it from like a really old looking thing. Otherwise, you pretty much can't find it. Because the EU has really stupid check source rules about what you can and can't buy online and all that. It's a bit annoying. But let's get the tape off so you can see what it actually looks like. I wonder if this glows under UV. I'll try that in a minute, because uranium type stuff normally does glow under UV light. But yeah, I'll just get tape off. All the tape was when the guy posted it, so obviously there was no risk of it coming out and spilling in the envelope. It's just like, yeah, a bit of electrical tape he's put on there. But as it's in its own little test tube, there shouldn't be any issue of it spilling out anyway. And if I need to, I'll just put a little extra bit of tape on the end. I just want the actual tube to be visible. Looks that bit. Right. Yeah, we can get that off without the tube opening. Good. And then that should just pull off the bottom. There we go. So there's this little vial with uranium powder in it. All right, Alex. When I tried it against the SOX, Richard, it was very similar numbers, although they update at different speeds. Again, it's not as portable as a SOX because it's quite a bit bigger. And another thing to bear in mind is where the tube is on this one. The tube sits a bit further into the casing. So obviously the distance from the item to the source makes a difference, but this one has more open bits on the back, so the tube can read things easier. So it's quite hard to do a complete comparison of the same source at the same distance. But for what it is, it does seem very good. But as I said, it's for low-level readings, because notice it only goes up to 99.99 microsieverts, which I'll show in a minute. So if you were, or he was, Alex, in the sense he kept spamming the chat and I gave a warning about being blocked. So if it was somebody else using your account, yeah, don't give them access to it again, because you did nearly get blocked the other day. So anyway, let's see what the uranium ore's like. It's probably not got a massive range on this. This one was like £48. They're about £48.50 all over eBay, because they're like Chinese mass-produced ones. But for what they are, they're very good, actually. I managed to get a higher reading from that earlier. I don't know if there's a particular angle where it reads better on the tube. Do you actually know what the difference is between the BR6A, B, and C factory? I would say the last bit of your name, because that bit's easy to read. Because I know that there's meant to be differences between the models, but it's not clear, you know, for somebody who doesn't read Chinese what the difference is. Anyway, let me just flick the mini monitor on, because I'm interested in what the mini monitor reads from this. Now, 15 to 20 counts per second. I'll just see. Actually, alpha radiation won't come through the plastic, so there's no point trying that. Let me just see if I've got my UV light handy somewhere. There it is. Yeah, I was just seeing if this would glow under UV at all. So there's a UV light. Does that glow under the UV? Oh, it does. Yeah, it kind of does. That's interesting. I don't know if that will show up on the webcam or if it will blur, but you can see some of it is like more reactive to the UV than other bits. So I guess the bits that glow are the highest bits in uranium. Yeah, that's very interesting, but I sadly don't think that's going to show up on the camera. Yeah, it's not going to. But yeah, when I look at that with the UV light, different bits of it glow brighter than other bits. So obviously the brighter bits are the bits that have the higher uranium concentrations. Not really Toto Kia, in the sense that it's not really in my interest list. No, I'm not really not into MREs at all. Okay, so yeah, I've got the B, so that is the model that just does nuclear radiation. Right. So if you want to see the limitations of this Geiger counter, here's a good old strontium 90. And what we're going to do is expose this to strontium 90. So it should read a bit from the side before I take the cover off, but the cover does do a good job. It's actually quite well shielded, but yeah, let's open that up. There we go. And there you go. That's the limitation of the counter. It only goes up to 99.99 microsieverts. So yeah, that's the limit of it. That, you know, you can do a Chernobyl saying, oh, you know, that's not too bad, is it? Because it's only 99.99, but no, it's higher than that. It's just the thing won't read it. So there you go. That's the limitation of it, and I showed that in the video I've done on it, because that is something that's important for people to know, that obviously this is a device that only goes up to 99.99. And I think, sadly, that's just a limitation of the screen they've got there. Because I'm sure the Geiger tube in here can probably read more than that. But, you know, without putting it on some other sort of unit, I have no idea. So anyway, that's that. The scale only goes to 0.6 as well. So if you have something bigger than that, it will just spike out completely. There's an alarm function as well. How the alarm function works is basically it looks like a thermostat, because it was taking me ages to work out what that was, because you think they could have a better symbol for an alarm. But how that works is there's two audio modes on this. There is one I've got on now, which is just a Geiger counter noise, where you can see like little particles on the display if it wants to focus. Is it going to focus? I'll keep it in front of my face. There we go. So little particles are the that one. If you press the audio thing, that now means the alarm's on. And the alarm you can put on various settings. You can have it on. Let's go from the beginning and start. So 0.5. So it means when it hits 0.5 microsieverts, it sounds the alarm. 1.0, so 1 microsievert, 2 microsieverts, and 5 microsieverts. If the button works. There we go. That's the 5 one, isn't it? There we go. So let's put it on 0.5. Oh, no, it's on 5 now. Right. Let's put it on 0.5. There's loads for sale now, Hype, in the UK, but they're actually quite competent for what they are. The issue is, just as I was showing, that they max out on 99.99 microsieverts, even though I bet the tube in there can do more than that. The nice thing is the tube wasn't tripping, as in, you know, it overloads to the point and then goes to 0. So that makes me think the Geiger tubes in here are actually a bit more sophisticated probably than the screen. Kind of. All it will show you is a trend and what your average is per hour. So every, I think it is 6 or 10 minutes or something, that updates. So in a bit it will go up higher, because I've obviously been exposing it to some sources. But yeah, other than the trend, so you can't really use it as a dosimeter. It's more like a standard Geiger counter for low-level radiation. But for what they are, like I say, you can get these brand new now for £50, £48. They are not bad at all. Yeah, it will reset the long count features, and it's also what you do to... Well, I'll show you. If you turn it off and then you turn it on, it comes up with an information screen. And then you just press play to say you've read it and, you know, to start, if it will focus. Maybe. There we go. So yeah, now we press the play button, and then yeah, it'll take like 6 minutes or whatever it is before it starts doing the like hourly average rather than the real time. As you can probably see there, it says real average trend, all of the microsieverts an hour, and then there's the alarm function. So let me demonstrate the alarm. So I'll do it with the lamp mantles. That should be hot enough. So if I put that on here, so when it gets to 0.5, should sound the alarm. Oh, I've got on the wrong speaker setting. Hang on. There we go. Yep, there we go. So let's put that now on 2. So obviously it shouldn't sound the alarm until it gets to 2.0 or higher. There we go. And if I have it on the 5 setting, it will need to get to 5.0 before it sounds the alarm. And they're the only alarm settings you can have on it. Don't know if this is actually going to be hot enough without putting them out and directly laying them on the Geiger. What I'm literally showing now, that M17 guy. Oh, we're getting there. Are we gonna hit it? I'll just get the Fiesta wear out because it's easier. But yeah, as I was there we go. Right, I'll turn the alarm off now because we don't want that constantly going off, and I'll put it back on the particle thing. So yeah, the limitation of it is that it only goes up on this display to 99.99 microsievert. So if we get the strontium 90 out, very soon you'll see that it will just say 99.99 and just stick there. There we go. So that's the limitation of it. So yeah, for what it is, it's actually very good. But again, you just need to know if you're getting one that it's only for readings literally up to, you know, like 100 microsieverts. No, that's beta. Strontium 90 is an exclusive beta source. I have some things that emit gamma, but I don't think I have anything that emits gamma on its own. But this does beta, gamma, and X-rays. So for £50, that's not bad at all. And there you'll see it's dropping back down again. Now, I've not got a device that can measure UV radiation. Whether or not they exist or not, I'm sure they do, but a Geiger counter doesn't measure UV. I suppose technically some gamma can be in the UV range, can't it? But then it would just be gamma on this. But yeah, there we go. So that's that. As I said, yeah, for what it is, it's very good, and it does seem to be quite sensitive. Let me just see how much gamma it reads off of the americinium over there, because it won't read the... So it won't actually read any alpha, so it's going to be purely just reading the gamma coming off of this. I'm not going to hold it there for ages because it goes up quite slowly if it's not a strong source, but it got to about, you know, 0.6, and it should start dropping down again in a moment. Yeah, there we go. The issue is the trend graph only goes up to 0.6 anyway. You think the trend graph would be a bit bigger on the scale, but it's not. It doesn't... I trust it completely for low-level readings. I've already shown the pros and cons of it just now. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, you know, you need to make sure if you're buying one, that you know that it only goes up to 99.99 microsieverts. Whereas, you know, the issue is, I think a lot of sellers are saying that, you know, it's one that will cover the entire range, which it won't. But as long as you know what the limitations are, there's nothing wrong with it. For the money, you know, it's not bad at all. Because as far as I'm aware, this is the only brand new Geiger counter you can get anywhere online for that sort of money, other than the build your own kits. And they're generally not much cheaper than that. So, you know, for what it is, the price is very good. Especially if you're just, you know, a hobbyist that wants to measure some low-level readings off of things. As I've said a few times, about £48. So in dollars, that'd be $60 maybe. So for what they are, they're bloody cheap. About a year ago, when these first started turning up on eBay for international shipping, they were about, I think, £100, I think. Oh, so there's an even cheaper one in China domestically, is there? That's interesting. Because, I mean, I've got the SOX, and I like the SOX, and that does all that. But as I said, it's just for the market over here, you don't really find them. This is the cheapest thing you'll find, obviously, other than the people who sell things that detect electromagnetic radiation and then claim they're Geiger counters, which they obviously aren't. But that sounds cool, Hype. Yep, remind me then. But yeah, thank you. That sounds interesting. Because I do kind of like comparing the readings from, like, you know, low and high level things and whatever. But yeah, so that's that. And said that came today. Plus that little uranium sample thing that's quite interesting. But, you know, sadly I can't find it. Let's have a look at that one then. KB611, KB6011. There's one showing up on Amazon, so I'll just open the page on that. So, do you know what the top end of that one is? Like, what it will go up to? It looks quite alright, actually. But yeah, it's, you know, knowing, will it go higher? Because it's got an LCD display, so you hope it would, but you never know. It might be like this one, where it will just max out at a number and you can't read higher. Because the thing is, I don't think there's any problem with the tube in this. The tube seems fine. I think the issue is, because yeah, if the tube literally couldn't handle more than 100 microsieverts, what you'd see happening with the strontium, because that's a hell of a lot more than 100 microsieverts, is it would just trip back to zero, because there's videos where people demonstrate that with Geiger counters, where if you've got a tube that's designed for low-level use, and you put it with a strong radiation source, what ends up happening is the needle or like the display just immediately goes back to zero and starts going up again. Yeah, Russian, Soviet, F1 grenades, although they're Polish ones, they're deactivated. The stick grenades are Hungarian one. But yeah, in general, the problem is with Geiger counters is that because they work by particles or whatever hitting the thing and creating a circuit, and then it resets. If it's being hit by radiation too quickly, it just causes it to reset too quickly, essentially overloading the Geiger. I think it's called tripping it, essentially a bit like how a circuit breaker would trip. But yeah, none of my Geiger counters I can actually get to trip. This one, like I said, it maxes out 99.99 microsieverts. So yeah, that's a pretty low top end. I think that's about 11 millirontgen. But yeah, I was saying the inside of this actually looks fairly competent, and it's got a proper piezoelectric buzzer, which I like. Which is, if you don't know what that is, it's basically one of these. So it's what makes the classic Geiger counter ticking noise. So I like that more than the SOEX, actually, that it makes retro clicking noises rather than like a little beeping noise. Because the problem is with a lot of modern electric Geiger counters, they put some sort of more, you know, like comprehensive speaker in, where I wish they just stuck with cheap piezoelectric ones, because then you get a noise rather than, that's right, Depressed Manatee. So tomorrow I should be getting my new mobile phone. Not that I'll really be used much for videos, but it'll be good just for having a phone where the battery isn't draining quite quickly, because my current one's a few years old now. There should be some other stuff arriving tomorrow, but hopefully very soon my, what's it will be coming? The, trying to think of the name of it. The CDV 700 Geiger counter. Motorola G7 Power. The current one I've got is the, I think that might be just the regular G4, I can't remember. But the G7 Power is the one with a really bulky battery in it. So the idea is that it will take you, you'll have a really hard time actually draining the battery. I might do, but this channel isn't really for gaming videos. I probably will stream one at some point, but what, I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't mind streaming some more Stalker, but that's if I can get in the mood to play it. The problem is when I stream video games, less people watch them than watching the webcam streams. Let's see what this reads on my extracted bit of thorium, actually. That will interest me. I can extract some more at some point soon, because I've got all the lamp mantles now. So let's put this here. We should start reading it soon. I'll put it like that, it'll probably get a higher reading. Don't know if there's any bits of the tube that are more sensitive than other bits. No. It is 24 minutes past 5 p.m. where I am. But yeah. So when I get this vial fully filled, which should be about 5 or 6 more lamp mantles, that'll be quite interesting to see how much gamma this gives off. Yeah, that's the problem, Richard, is that for whatever reason, less people are interested in the game streams. So YouTube ends up punishing you for doing them because they say, oh, your videos aren't interesting people. We're not going to send out notifications for your stuff anymore. So the problem is with YouTube, you can actually shoot yourself in the foot a lot if you sometimes do what people want you to do. Because sometimes even if you don't mind doing videos that a certain like percentage of your audience wants to see, YouTube doesn't like that. But yeah, the other thing is very interesting that came today. That let's open it again. This stuff, I've got some dirt on it from it being in the DP66 case, some hair. But the uranite, whatever it's called, uranium, something or other, but where it's like uranium in a sort of dust form, which is quite interesting. So yeah, on the mini monitor, I think it was about 15 to 20 counts per second when I did it. Yep, so that's about, 20. And the thorium dust, although I'll probably need more in the vial for it to accurately read it. There we go, that's close enough down to the thing. About 10 max counts per second, so yeah. It's a bit more active than the thorium dust. Yeah, don't breathe anything radioactive in. The problem is, Hash, it won't actually, because a Geiger probe's only a certain size, if you put it all together, often you'll get a lower reading than if you just put the probe next to a really hot source. I've already done a review video on it today, but it won't be live for a month, and it's like a 20-odd minute video with different test sources comparing its readings to the SOEX and things like that. But as I've said, it's actually pretty good for what it is. Again, it's not perfect, but as long as you know the limitations when you buy it, for the price, it's not bad at all. That's cool. I'm not going to be bidding on any more masks anytime soon because I spent loads on Geiger counters recently. But yeah. The person who eats it would die is the simple answer. Because lots of radioactive things, even if they're not very radioactive externally, as in, if you hold them there and you had a Geiger counter, if they get into you, that's when they do lots of damage, because alpha and beta, when they're inside the body, are pretty much always hitting, what's coming off of them, your organs. Whereas when radiation is outside your body, that's not as much of a problem, because, for example, your skin will block alpha radiation, but as soon as it's inside the body, the risk of it doing horrible things is much, much higher. So, yeah, you never want to ingest or inhale radioactive dusts or anything like that. Obviously, the more active the source, the more dangerous it is, and the longer the half-life, because something of a longer half-life is going to be damaging your body for that entire half-life, where something of a short half-life, runs out fairly quickly. Because that's why when they do the radioactive tracer fluids for like X-ray things, it's something of a very short half-life. So, although they're radioactive, they're not going to be constantly irradiating you, for like years on end. It's going to be a couple of days and then it's gone. So it's a low risk kind of thing. There's S10s on eBay, but it depends how much you want to spend on them. Yeah, that's an interesting point as well, though, Hype, because, yeah, strontium-90 has like a 30-year half-life, and that's very high for what it is, and cesium-137 has like an insanely high, depending on obviously how much of it you've got, but yeah, like cesium-137, I was watching a video where a guy had a little capsule of it that gave off 100 Rontgen per hour, so, you know, a few hours next to that and you're dead. So, yeah, it just because it's got a short half-life doesn't mean it's not dangerous, yeah. So yeah, it swings and roundabouts, isn't it? But I know the radioactive tracer fluid stuff is pretty safe. Again, any radioactive thing carries risks, but you know, generally having it inside you for like the X-ray type things they do with it is generally, you know, outweighing the cost for it might discover something medically seriously wrong with you that they can fix, as opposed to, you know, the radiation damage. So yeah, there'll be quite a few Geiger counter videos coming up in the next month, so I hope people enjoy Geiger counters and radiation, because there might be more of them actually at the moment than gas masks. But what I'm going to do with the US one when I do the video on it is I've ordered a white reusable like dust suit type thing, so a bit like an NBC suit, but you know, one of the ones just for dusts and particulates. And I'm going to put that on with an M9 gas mask and go around for a bit of the video of like the CDV and the wand doing that. So it should be quite interesting if you like the old kind of, you know, nuclear kind of test era sort of stuff they had on. Waiting for people to chat now so we can talk about various things. But yeah, for people tuning in later into the stream, yes, I would recommend one of these. I've turned it off again now, but for what they are, they're actually really good. All right, Stug. And I still need to do an actual proper video on the riot shield at some point where I get Bart or somebody to hit me while holding it. But that'll come up at some point as well. But the video's not being filmed on it yet. Probably about 150 at this point depressed manatee, but I don't actually have them on a spreadsheet or anything anymore, so I really don't know. There's a precise number. I feel quite tired today for some reason, but I assume it's probably just because work at the weekends. Then when you have a day when you're not doing much, your body wants to slow down a bit. Yeah, people feel free to start asking questions in the chat because it's slowed down now, even though apparently there's still 17 people on. So yeah, nobody wants to chat now, it seems. That's cool, depressed manatee. An American Mickey Mouse, because if you have, that's one of the rarest masks in the world, so I kind of doubt that. You sure it's not the Canadian British style Mickey Mouse mask? Because as far as I'm aware, the American Mickey Mouse is a prototype that was never actually issued to anyone. So if you have got that, you'll have to do video proof of it, because I'm very doubtful. Not that I don't want to believe you. What, like the circle mouse ears? Right, you need to do footage of that then, because there's one more in the world than everybody thought. Yeah, chat's still very quiet. There's not a slow mode type thing on, is there? I don't think you can even do slow mode anymore. I think they've taken that off totally as a feature. Favorite gas mask from all the ones I own? Well, my favorite to actually use, and I have set up ready to go, is my Avon CT12. Favorite historical one, maybe the XM28, which I managed to break. But there's other masks I really like and I'd use if I had to, like the Scott M98 or the Spassiani TR2002. Yeah, a lot of people at work, Richard, have been coughing and been nauseous and stuff like that, vomiting. And I don't mean like people just pulling a sickie. Like there has been some sort of stomach bug flu thing a lot of people have got. Oh, so you're eating raw food, are you, Mike? Oh, you've now cooked your dinner. Yeah, not that I have not cooked my dinner. Right, a dosimeter, well, it's going to firstly depend on who you ask, because different people have different language terms for it, like gas mask, respirator, and all that. But technically, a Geiger counter or a Geiger-Müller counter is one that tells you the current levels of radiation. A dosimeter will tell you your cumulative dose of radiation. I have got night vision goggles, Krenner. Haven't you watched my videos on them? I can't be bothered to look at your videos, so I'm going to make a sweeping statement. But yeah, to show you, you also get different units that act like dosimeters. So if I get my... Oh, it's in the bag, isn't it, with all of this? Hang on, let's fish it out. Because I was trying to get uranium to hit it from the thorium lamp mantles. So, for example, this is a dosimeter pen. And how this works is you look through it at a light source, and the battery discharges, it gets irradiated. But it only does, this model only works at gamma, so that's a bit annoying because I've not really got a ideal way of testing it. So let me just put this light through it and then put it up to the camera. And then when we get it the right way around, there we go. Or is that upside down still? It's upside down, isn't it? There we go. There's a little needle in there, and it shows your cumulative dose, where the quartz fiber needle moves as the battery discharges. But something like the SOXO1M, let me get that out, because that is a combined dosimeter and Geiger counter. So yeah, this is where it's showing you the current background radiation it's seeing. It just spiked for some reason then. But there's always background radiation. But yeah, so what this does is if I set the dose to 0, hang on, let me just do that. Right, so on this one, the SOX, you can go to dose, and this is the dosimeter function. So it showed you how much microsieverts you've absorbed since you've last essentially used it. So at the moment it says 0.00 microsieverts. So let's say we get the bag of thorium lamp mantles, and let's put the Geiger counter right down in the middle of it. I just make a space for it. There we go. So you can probably hear that ticking away in there. So let's give this a few minutes and then we'll pull it out and see what the dose it's accumulated is. Tell you what, let me just push the air out the bag and do it up so it gets as much radiation into it as possible. The British police Mark 1, Mark 2 and Mark 3 riot helmets are quite good if you get them in a proper size and in good conditions. The Russian riot helmet, I've got one at the moment about the visor, brand new, and that seems very good. I don't know how good the visor is for it because I don't have one with the visor. But from what I can understand, that should be a pretty good riot helmet all in all. I think that's called something like the root helmet. But I'll do a video on that at some point, even if I don't end up getting the visor sent to me. Because it does look quite a good helmet. It's a very good chin thing. If Mike's still in the chat, he can attest that I showed it him and he thought it was quite good. Because, yeah, B-Store, who sent it me, Piotr, he said if I wanted to smash it up in a video to test how good it was. And I said, I'm not going to smash up a brand new Riot helmet that's, you know, in really good condition, literally unused condition, you know, because it's a shame to waste it, you know, like that. Because I only like smashing stuff up if there's loads of it about and you can get it cheap enough, or it's like a pre-damaged one anyway. But it looks better than the British ones, in all honesty, in terms of like how comfortable the foam is and everything. Well, I know lots, isn't it like CYKA technically, but I know lots of Russian kids shout it over mics online, yes. If that's a channel, no, Gabriel. It doesn't mean I haven't seen the videos, but it's only generally if I watch lots and lots of videos from a channel that I'd actually recommend, you know, remember the usernames. Yeah, as I said, CYKA. And Kurwa's the Polish one, isn't it? They're like bitch whore, aren't they? Like those words. But I know the Polish one is Kurwa they always use, and Suka's like the Russian one. Yeah, as I just said, means like bitch whore, doesn't it? Like slut or something like that. That's interesting, Hype. But yeah, doesn't it? A lot of it depend totally on like the frequency of the radiation and stuff like that. Because I know people who were getting into really in-depth topics on radiation, which went way over my head. We're talking something about like the microcuries or something, mean that something could be like fairly high Rontgen or, you know, sievert, but not actually necessarily be harmful. Didn't make any sense to me because obviously I'm not clued up enough on it. You know, the higher a Geiger counter goes, the more scary it is to me and like more interesting. But yeah, some people saying some of it depends on like the microcurie or baracules or something. Right, we'll give it 2 more minutes or so, then we'll pull the SOX out of the thing and we'll see what its reading is. I don't know who that is, Mr. Potato Man, so I can't comment. I still don't know who that is. If it's not a channel I watch, I'm not going to know who it is, because I don't watch lots of these very popular YouTube recommended channels, which are all e-drama and like celebrity shit. Okay, it still doesn't really make sense to me, Hype, but you know, I'll let the people who are really into radioactive stuff know what they're talking about. Personally, I'll just trust a Geiger counter if it starts going high, that maybe it's not a good idea to stick around it. No, I've not seen that survive. But as I've already said to Press Manatee, it's not a channel I'd watch, so I really don't care. You can like it if you want to. It's not something I'm going to watch, so there you go. I mostly watch history videos on YouTube and documentaries. That is generally the stuff I watch mostly on YouTube. So, you know, there's kind of, it's like if you're watching stuff on TV, there's probably channels you'd watch and like programs you'd watch, but not watch other stuff. So it's a bit like that. If somebody starts recommending me stuff that doesn't really fit into stuff I'd actually watch, even if it's a good channel, I'm still not going to be that interested in it. Is that like some camping survival type one, Survive? It sounds vaguely familiar, but I'm sure it's one I looked at and thought, because I'm sure a lot of it was like My Girlfriend and I in the Woods and, you know, like kind of titles like that. Yeah, that is the one then. Yeah, I've got no interest. I think he did one video on like a pistol crossbow, and that was like the closest he came to doing videos that might interest me. Yeah, I watch lots of war history things, as I say, and I watch quite a lot of documentaries and that. The thing I like about documentaries is sometimes you can be working on something, listen and like look at it every now and then, and still, like pick up a lot from it. Wow, here's the thing. I would not trust anybody to talk about mushrooms other than people properly qualified in it, because you eat the wrong kind of mushroom, you're dead. This is a conversation we were having on the stream a while ago about certain kind of shit that, there's some sort of shit where the only people I'm ever going to listen to it are like literally qualified experts. Just because there's some topics that can be very dangerous if you let anybody talk to you about them. And I'm not saying that to be like insulting to people. There's certain subjects where I just would not trust somebody to talk to it about unless you know personally that they were qualified enough. Soviet helmet, where are you looking? There's a Soviet, it's an East German variant of the tanker helmet on the MM1 over there. There's behind this bit, if you could see it, hang on, if I swing that way, there's a Yugoslavian helmet. Maybe the Challenger 2. Yeah, so that's how I just do it, hikers. Yeah, if my Geiger count is going crazy, it means time to get out of there. Oh, that was cool. Is that a Lee Enfield bayonet, your nan? Because that sounds like the kind of old Lee Enfield sword bayonet. But the thing is, I bet you kind of know what mushrooms to pick, don't you? Because this is the thing, like where I work, we used to have a really professional chef there, and he literally said, the whole thing with mushrooms is you do not fuck about with them. He went on like a proper course that, you had to spend a load of money on with somebody who was trained, so they could specifically go out into the field and point you which mushrooms are safe and which weren't, and the ones that look close to the safe ones that aren't, just don't eat wild mushrooms. And that's what he was saying. Even after that, he didn't feel confident enough to do it. So this is the thing. I would not watch somebody on YouTube saying, oh, this is safe, and then believe them. Yeah, dead experts, exactly. The thing is, there's lots of stuff, like I said, you can read up on it, and then you can get real world experience of it and all stuff like this. And there is some subjects where I don't think any amount of reading up online is ever going to train you to do it. I might, and this is a might, I'm going to have somebody supervise me if I do a video on using a rebreather soon, because I've got that modern rebreather scrubber unit that's only a couple of years old. I'm tempted to do it, but as I've said before, I would never recommend anyone doing it, and this is kind of me doing it at my own risk sort of thing. And the whole point is I'm having somebody else with me, so if I collapse at any point, they can literally pull the mask off of me, and even then it's still dodgy. But I kind of want to try out a rebreather. So, But again, the thing is, I'm still not going to recommend anybody uses a rebreather unless they really know what risks they're getting into. But the problem is you'll find some people online, oh, a rebreather, that's cool, just pull the pin and use it. So hopefully you get what I'm getting at there, but yeah, don't breathe through the GP5 filter though. All right, transport and stuff. Yeah, I know. I just like to say it. It's probably still quite a low risk compared to a lot of things. It's just why expose yourself to that risk. Yeah, I've got my IP4 set up like that. Down there is an IP4M with the whole thing set up with the scrubber unit where you can literally pull the pin and it's ready to go. Because the nice thing about the IP4M is it goes all into its bag pretty much ready to pull out and use, because it's not an underwater rebreather. It's, like on an on surface, if there's no oxygen or poison everywhere rebreather. But yeah, the scrubber unit I've got, have I got in this room or is it in the other room that I've got in the other room, is the modern Polish one that can also go into the IP5. So what I want to try and do is do a video when I pulled a pin on it, where I've got enough time to try it with both the ATE1 mask and the IP5. Although there's no real way I can kind of do tests to prove that I'm being deprived of oxygen to, work with the rebreather. But it should be quite interesting to try one. But the whole point is I need somebody else with me so we can go over the warning signs. So if, I look kind of lightheaded or anything, they can literally rip the mask off. Because the issue is with rebreathers, especially if you're just messing about with them on your own, is if you start getting deprived of oxygen, you're probably not going to realise till it's too late, and you won't have the strength for that point to take the mask off. eBay. It was literally called something like gas mask. It's fine to keep a GP5 filter, just don't breathe through it. So anyway, shall we see what the SOX01M says now? Because it's been in this bag for a while, surrounded by thorium lamp mantles. I've not got round to doing the video on it, Hype, so I'll put the thing in, thanks for the thing you said about the valve. I'll do the video where I set it up at that stage. Right, so let's go to dose now and see it's at 2.19 microsieverts. And it reckons it's about 11 microsieverts an hour sitting in the bag of thorium lamp mantles. No, I assume it's a Tom Clancy book, is it? From ages ago, but I've never read Rainbow. I don't think I've read any Tom Clancy books saying that. The thing is, I wouldn't listen to kids talking shit online, no matter what country they're from, because you get those sort of idiots in every country that don't really understand history and, talk shit about it. Anyway, so the funny thing was that, yeah, the dose we got up to was 2.2, from being in that bag for like 10 minutes. Now the fun bit, right? Let's see how quickly we can get that number to go up now. I think it's a bit higher now, isn't it? There's a sweet spot on here, though. I just need to try and find it, where it directly kind of reads into the tube. I can't remember the exact position for it. Because it will get to the stage where it says about 500 odd. But yeah, here's the thing with this look. Notice this number compared to when it was on 99.99 on the other one. Where is the sweet spot on here then? Because there is a bit of it which is the sweet spot. I can't remember which bit it is. Oh, is it there? Weirdly enough. Is that going up still? Yeah, there we go. So yeah, if we go to dose now, see how higher the microsieverts are from being on this for like a minute rather than 246. So that's a bit higher than 99.99, isn't it? 265. Yeah, it should get to the stage of this where it gets to about 500 microsieverts odd per hour, which gives you some idea of, how much hotter the strontium is than, the other Geiger would tell you. I'm not going to hold it there for ages, but 272. Yeah, this gives you some idea of like how hot the strontium is in a sense. Let's cover that back up. But yeah, so yeah, in Rontgens per hour, because that's the unit I understand better, using the DP75, which seems very accurate, it's about 1.25 to 1.3 Rontgens per hour if you've got the probe directly over the strontium. Now, as I've said over and over again, I've got no interest in MREs. I'm not paying like £20 for one bloody day's worth of food. So no, I'm not doing MRE videos. All right, I'll go off in a minute, but yeah. The point was of just showing that then is that obviously the SOEX can read higher amounts of radiation, for example, than this can, but I think that's mostly down to display, not the quality of the tube in there. All right, I should be back and on the PC definitely by 10:30, Mike. Problem is, although we finish about 10, by the time I drive home, get the PC turned on, maybe make a decaf coffee or whatever at that point, it is generally 10:30 before I'm ready to sort of sit down and do anything. Right, I'll just search GT3 gas mask before I go off Nautilus and let you know what I think of it. Well, like what it looks like. Hang on, I'm going to have to just Google it because the search function is shit trying to select text. Well, it's coming up with Scott GSR for some reason. GT3. Oh, it's that weird one that looks a bit like the Zelinsky Kuman or whatever it's called, just with a filter directly on the bottom of it. Yeah, I've seen pictures of that before. It's a bit weird looking, isn't it? But yeah, if it worked, it worked. I mean, the filter looks a bit heavy for being directly put on the mask like that. Right, let me search NC1 then as well before I go off, and then I'm definitely going off. Oh yeah, that's the one with like the dick on the front, isn't it? It's not really, it's just how it's got the flappy sort of rubber exhale valve sort of at the bottom. I've got a Discord for people that donate. I'm pretty sure you do physics and science if you wanted to go into nuclear physics, because that's like the only really related thing I can think of that when you do school stuff. Maybe certain things of chemistry would be related to nuclear physics, but it's pretty much just physics is the thing that applies to nuclear physics. Anyway, I'm going off. Oh, sorry, Daniel, you've come on literally as I'm going off because I've been on for 1 hour and 3 minutes now. $1, £1, your man. Anyway, I'm going off. So see you all. I'll probably stream tomorrow, but don't know what time. So yeah, see everybody, and obviously the foul because it's on my wall.